we're going to SRH. They're last in this alphabetical order, and they were last on the points table last season as well. I'm from Hyderabad, so I support them. Like I used to support Deccan Chargers, now SRH. They actually did well from 2016 onwards. They're consistently making the playoffs. I think the only team to make the playoffs in that time frame consistently for every season, and it all came crashing down last season. In my opinion, at least, they kind of messed up by not retaining Rashid. Williamson, they kind of overpaid. Could have been the number 2 retained in the auction. I doubt he would have gone for 14. And then they picked Samad and Umran, which were fair prices for their for the talent they've shown as uncapped players. What do you think they did right and wrong, Gaurav, in the auction?
Obviously, we don't know what goes on in the talks, why Rashid didn't get retained. Obviously, SunRisers know that what they're doing. It's not like they wouldn't have tried retaining Rashid. Certain things might not have fallen in place, so maybe wrong to kind of blame SRH for not retaining Rashid, because I'm sure it's when so many people understand the game, it's obviously the fact SunRisers would have tried, it didn't work out. So what's the next best option? Go with Williamson, bank him, give him all the power he wants. He's the captain, pay him the most money, and pick Abdul Samad and Umran Malik, which were both fair at the price point, because I know the way fast bowlers were going, Umran Malik would have just gone for 7-8 crores. Abdul Samad is a finisher. We just spoke about how finishers are going. So those are fair prices according to me. And in terms of, again, their team, I think I would say they wanted a few players. Maybe a Raidu or a Rana might have added more impetus to that middle order. Maybe a Huda, maybe Kunal. I really wanted to see him in SRH. I think he fit this team perfectly to add that balance. Now they have to do with Abhishek Sharma, who's a very, very good talent. They have to make a better use of Abhishek Sharma. So overall, they did a lot of course correction after day one. They couldn't get certain players they wanted, so they had to overpay for Pooran and Romario Shepherd. At the end of the day, when you look at that first 11, they have a very, very decent team there. It's more like a New Zealand's team, right? More like Kane's team. A lot of people have to perform a little bit here and there, and maybe you will see them do well. So that's what a lot of people don't kind of get. This time the IPL is more or less very open. Any team can beat anybody. There aren't any team which is like super strong, and there's any team which is like super weak, especially the first 11s. Only when you have like injury problems, things become a bit wary. In that aspect, SRH is very well covered. They're also kind of covered with enough depth options for each role. If Natarajan's not there, you have a Marco Jansen. You have Aiden Markham, who's kind of there in the middle order, who can play a similar role like what Kane plays. He can also bowl. You have a Glenn Phillips if required. You have good fast bowlers, Indian fast bowlers, Kartik, Tyagi, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Natarajan. You don't need an overseas bowler. So it has good depth, guys.
If I have to nitpick, like they try to ensure that there are backups for everyone, I think, which is important, during the length of the tournament, injuries, availability, all that. I think one part which was lacking was like the Indian spinning department, right? So Sundar is fine, but then you're left with Abhishek Sharma and Gopal and Suchit, who have not performed as well in the IPL.
Yeah, maybe they could have gone for the Chahal. But look, they also bid for Jofra Archer. They also had to pick some players towards the end for a lot of money. So you got to wait and see whether they also budgeted for. I know they went for Ishan Kishan also. So
right.
If they for Ishan Kishan, they wouldn't need Pooran maybe. So maybe they had to save up some money towards the end, for which they had to kind of come back at certain price points.
So in the SRH camp, or like in the whole auction, or the players, what they've invested a lot in youth this time, right? So if you look back at the previous auctions, they were picking the Kedar Jadavs, they were picking the Vijay Shankars and all, right? But now this time they've kind of flipped that around and they've gone all in on youth. So do you think that's like a concerted strategy by them, or do you think that's the right move?
I don't think it's a concerned strategy, because I think they had to do a lot of changes during the auction. That's what I get the feeling. So maybe that was not the strategy, but now when you look at the team, they have a good team for the next few years. Maybe if not this year, they might. Certain players like Sundar are very young. Samad, Sundar, Abhishek, all these players are very young. So they might all peak in a few years, and who knows, this might be a formidable force.
And then what would be your rating for them?
Rate it around 7.
Key players to perform, then and only then this would. go
Or
up
they
higher.
need like 150, 140, 150 kind of totals to be chased down and stuff like that. This
Right.
team might be a decent team if it's a Chepauk kind of wicket, to be very honest. Not because of the spin department, but more to do with the kind of batters they have.
If the matches are held in Mumbai, then this team might struggle, I feel. Cool. So let's go on to pick the playing 11 then.
Yeah, I would start with Abhishek Sharma and Kane Williamson. Aiden Markram. Actually, no, I forgot Rahul Tripathi. So I think Tripathi will open. Just push these two by one.
Murli has come out and said, I think Williamson and Abhishek will open, but I agree with you that Akram should open with Abhishek. You want Tripathi to open or?
Yeah, I wanted Tripathi to open. Sorry. I think
Got it.
that's his best position. Abhishek Tripathi will give some impetus at the top. You have Williamson and Markham to kind of handle the middle overs against the spinners. And then you have Nicholas Pooran coming in to kind of play the finishing role that leaves you with five. And go with this is where they have to kind of make certain decisions whether you want to go with an all-round approach of guys like Sean Abbott, or do you want to go with all-out Indian bowling. I would just leave a couple of spots there, put Abdul Samad at 6 for sure, then just leave 7 as of now. Put Bhuvi as Gopal, Natarajan, and I think Kartik Tyagi also will walk in. So that's now this is where they have that flexibility, which I like. If you want, you can either play a Glenn Phillips also, if you want to. If you want to play a Faruqi, you can play. If you want to play Romario, Shepherd, or Sean Abbott, who can bat, that's also fine. So I think that's how. Oh yeah, we forgot Washington also. That's perfect. So we have one position vacant. So when you actually go back and look at all the teams, there are only certain teams which have this kind of flexibility. CSK is one, KKR was one. I think one more team we saw also had this. Lucknow, I think, had one luxury position. We put K Gautam there. So that is very important. That kind of shows that you have a good team. You have that flexibility to do. Only certain players pick themselves. Here you still have a Kartik Tyagi who's maybe sitting out, either a good batter like Priyam Garg, who's also a future potential sitting out. So they've also invested in a few youngsters as well. So yeah, this looks a team which has good balance and certain things to kind of fall in place.
I think they can also go in with like both two of these three and like just not go it with Gopal and Suchit, right? Because Abhishek Sharma can also spin.
And right? Sundar can also bowl. Yeah. Spot on. They can go with 3 pacers and play Glenn Phillips, like I said.
Depending on the pitch, they can play more pacers, bowlers. Yeah. To your point, there are like so many options here. No one walks in. Yeah. They don't have to retrofit someone. So looking forward to this season, then it should be pretty close. And if especially they play all of the matches in like just 4 grounds, then it becomes even more, I think, even closer, given no one has like home ground advantage, right?
Absolutely. It becomes a lottery.
Hopefully not on the toss like the World T20.